Not only just the weather itself, they want to torture people with that, but just like the sewage situation that multiple people have already brought up. You can't put septic tanks in the middle of the Everglades. It doesn't work like that. I've said it earlier, like, guys, fools, this is our drinking water.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup.
This is Ashley with Status Coup.
On the ground.
In Philadelphia.
Flint, Michigan. East Palestine, Ohio. Please support the leading independent news outlet on the ground,
covering what the corporate media covers up. Hey, this is Ashley Bishop with Status Coup. John Farina and I are on the ground in Florida. We came down for the protest against the so-called Alligator Alcatraz that is being currently set up in the middle of the Everglades. So we are currently in Cypress National Park, which is right by, again, where the detention center is being set up in the middle of the Everglades. But there is a big gathering close to where the detention center is, where we've been talking to a bunch of locals, organizers, activists who came out today to protest Alligator Alcatraz. So, Glory,
Yes.
Why did you show up today? Why are you here protesting the quote-unquote Alligator Alcatraz?
Various reasons. First and foremost, I'm a Floridian. I'm born and raised here. I love the Everglades. It's close to my heart. I can never, I've protested against a lot of the development in the Everglades, at least within my lifetime. But, this one is a bit different because it's not your average suburban neighborhood. It's not your average mall. It's not even the airport that they proposed in the late 60s and 70s. It's an immigrant concentration camp. So, everything I care about calls me to be here. The earth, the Everglades, standing up for, my indigenous siblings, standing up for immigrants who've undergone just like some of the most disgusting dehumanization campaigns you can imagine. And not wanting people to be put in concentration camps. Like, everything about this is just so stupid. There are a few things where I hate every angle of it more than this Alligator Alcatraz project. So
yeah, I completely understand. Like you said, there's an environmental angle, there is a tribal rights angle, there is a human rights angle, there is an immigrants' rights angle. You kind of have everything in this story. And as you said in the beginning of your answer here, it's like, there could not be a worse place to set up a detention center where we know that people's human rights will be routinely violated. And as Javier, who I spoke with earlier, said, we can expect that people will probably die here. It's hot. It's the middle of the Everglades. It is a swamp. The heat index is over 100.
Yeah. And it's hot anywhere in Florida. The Everglades, honestly, when you're just out here in Big Cypress, you're at least surrounded by green. So it's not quite the concrete jungles that you see in downtown Miami or Brickell or other areas. But yes, with the summer coming up, it's without a doubt an extra degree of, cruelty that they want to implement with this project. It's, not only just the weather itself, they want to torture people with that, but just like the sewage situation that multiple people have already brought up. You can't put septic tanks in the middle of the Everglades. It doesn't work like that. I've said it earlier, like, guys, fools, this is our drinking water.
People come here, they go on airboat rides, they go see the alligators, they kayak, they stand up paddleboard, they go to the beach, they shell, they python hunt, whatever your fancy is here, the Everglades has it. And you think about how delicate it is in terms of being a system. We got 1,000 people. Where's their poop gonna go? I hate to ask the obvious question, but there's no septic system here. You're gonna drive how many miles? 70, 100 miles? The logistics of this are stupid. What happens when you put people in an environment? There is poop, there is pee, there is lots of other kinds of waste. Where are we gonna go? So how many more trucks are gonna be driving down this road, right? Or are we just gonna dump it in the Everglades? I don't know. There's not been a plan. This has been put forth as political theater, and it is the most horrific and disgusting kind of political theater I've ever seen. We have such this low amount of regulation around our environmental issues already. I'm not surprised that their plan is just to dump a bunch of shit in the Everglades.
You know, the creeks and the water that flows through Big Cypress down to Everglades National Park into the Biscayne Aquifer, that's our drinking water. So, you know, it's an extra element of cruelty, not only for the immigrants, but also for us, also for, you know, the tribal communities that are going to have a concentration camp, going to have to deal with all the noise and light pollutions. You know, the Everglades might be one of the few places, and, you know, anybody's welcome to offer me more places, but Everglades is one of the few places in Florida and in North America where you can see the Milky Way at night. And, you know, we have no doubt that that's not going to be the same with all the light pollution coming from this concentration camp, coming from Alligator Auschwitz. So yeah, there's a PR stunt too. You know, like Alligator Alcatraz, it sounds so edgy if you're, you know, a wannabe fascist crypto bro or whatever. It's great for PR, and also it's a gateway for further development of the Everglades, which is why, you know, even people who are typically, you know, more conservative on these issues, people who, you know, support this draconian immigration agenda, even some of them are against this project because they know about the Everglades. They don't want to see it develop. They don't want to see, you know, the hotels and the gas stations and the grocery stores that'll come in as a result of this immigrant detention center being here. So, you know, anybody who knows what's up opposes this.
Support this critically important on-the-ground reporting as a Status Coup member and get great perks. Become a member right here.
You know, as you're saying, again, there's just like so many different things that are happening here that it's kind of hard to even keep track of how many things are happening. The development angle is something that, like, we've talked about a little bit, but not to the extent that it probably deserves. You are correct. This is going to open up development in one of the last, like, refuges that we have, in not just in Florida.
Historic refuge. I mean, you know, I'm not indigenous myself, but, you know, the Seminole and Miccosukee people, they pride themselves on being unconquered, and that's something that couldn't be accomplished without the refuge that the Everglades provided to them, without the life that the Everglades provides to them. And, you know, it's not even just the Miccosukee and Seminole. You have black Seminoles, for example, who are the descendants of Maroons, which escaped from slavery and came and took refuge in the Everglades, and then later became a part of the Seminole community. You know, the Maroons are a tale that you can find throughout the southeastern United States and the Caribbean as well, but it goes to show the Everglades is just this paragon of life for so many people. And that's one of the reasons why this project, you know, really angers a lot of us, because it shows and it displays and it utilizes this egregious misunderstanding of the whole ecosystem. So yeah, it's I don't even have words for it sometimes, how awful it is.
Yeah, I completely understand. And, you know, to pick out one thing that you said, because you said so many things that I think all deserve follow-up, but just to pick one right now, as far as development goes, like, for people who did not understand, like, what the Everglades are, like, it is a mangrove ecosystem.
It's not just a swamp. It's, you know, it's pine rocklands. It's, like you said, it's mangroves. It's the Everglades ecosystem includes the Florida Bay. It's the rivers and creeks which flow into Lake Okeechobee, which then, you know, historically at least, spill over from Lake Okeechobee down through this beautiful river of grass that's intertwined with sloughs, with hardwood hammocks, with marshes, and then out the Florida Bay. It's this, you know, like Marjorie Stoneman Douglas described it, it's a river of grass, and it's so, like, anybody who's just been in it, who's, you know, whether you've been in the slough, been in the cypress swamps, or whether you've, you know, been chilling through the Florida Bay or in the middle of Fakahatchee Strand or wherever, and, like, you know, I can't help but sometimes just, like, stop and take a deep breath and be like, wow, like, this is life. Like, I feel human again. And, you know, that's what a lot of people are missing. And that's why this, you know, the Everglades is so special to so many people.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you said is such a great way to kind of impress upon people, like why this is so important, why this ecosystem itself, why the Everglades themselves are as, as important as they are. And even just like, you go to the mangrove forests around here and you can see that there's life. And this is a very, fun fact about me. I have a favorite tree. They're mangroves.
It's mine too. It's mine too. I love that. For me, it's like mangroves, and then underneath that, it's the cypress trees that surround us, and then you go a bit down, and you got like a royal palm, which I hate what they've done to the royal palm. They've made it like this icon of imperial landscaping, and it just doesn't deserve that. But let me get off my tangent now. But yeah, I feel you.
No, I agree with all of that. I'm happy to have a conversation about our favorite trees. Yes. I hope viewers are riveted, but I genuinely feel very passionate about this. When I lived here, I would go to the mangrove forest, and you can see the effect of development. So if we're talking about development, that's a really important thing. Mangrove trees, they're migratory trees, so they move away. So if you continue putting development into their territory, they will essentially try to run away. Obviously they're not actually running, they're trees, that's not how that happens, but their nickname is the walking tree, because they do that.
So yeah, they do, you're right.
Yeah, and they try to move away from development, and what's happening all over Florida is that their territory is getting smaller and smaller. They're getting squeezed out, essentially. And this is that on a, incredible scale. And the mangrove forest in the Everglades, they're also habitat for they're nurseries for tropical fish. Panthers live there. There's all kinds of animals that live there. So it's incredibly important. And the fight over the Everglades right now, it's just just talking about the mangrove trees, that's just a microcosm of what's actually happening in there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a part of, the battle against Alligator Alcatraz isn't just a part of the battle for, rights for our immigrant brothers and sisters, battle for, respecting of tribal sovereignty. It's also a battle to protect the Everglades, without a doubt. And that's why so many people have been able to, stand against this, because they love the Everglades. The Everglades is us. It's in all of us, literally, given the fact that it's our drinking water. So, So yeah, I mean, agree with everything that you said. It's one of a kind, and we can't just develop over that. We've been, or at least vulnerable communities have been, reaping the consequences of developing the Everglades, with the decline in water quality overall, and just everything that comes with that, the decline in water quality, the decline in fish stocks, the lack of ability to be able to sustain yourself off the land has decreased because, of a whole variety of factors. But, it goes down to development, whether it be for big agribusiness or urban development or prisons now. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, that is all encapsulates, the totality of what we're facing here so well. I won't keep you for any longer. Yeah. I think the protest has kind of died down. There's a handful of people still here. Do you have any other thoughts that you would want to share with viewers of Status Coup? Anything that you want to leave them with about, the fight against so-called Alligator Alcatraz as a whole?
There's a lot of thoughts that's going through my head.
It's hard to pick one, but you can pick as many as you like, so yeah. Don't worry.
I mean, I'll go off just a tiny bit here, but they estimate that this facility will cost around $450 million a year to operate. That's our taxpayer dollars. Millions and millions of our taxpayer dollars are also going, so the state of Florida and various counties around the state of Florida can purchase Israel bonds, which are direct loans to the treasury of the Zionist occupation that they can use to, perpetrate their genocide against Palestinians, specifically in Gaza. Miami-Dade County specifically invested $76 million into Israel bonds. Palm Beach County invested over $700 million, and Broward County invested about $25 million, I believe. So the reason why I put that out there is because it's an important issue to me, but also, going to show how much our struggles are intertwined. Our opposition is united, our oppressors are united, so we must be united. The very same people which are perpetrating a genocide against Palestinians are also perpetrating and have historically perpetrated the genocides against our indigenous brothers and sisters, and they continue to want to just disrespect them and erase them from history. And one of the ways they do that is through developing the Everglades. So the same actors which are, enacting a genocide abroad are also doing the same thing here against the land and the water and the air and the people.